Excellent.
So today we're talking about other collectibles and other weird and wonderful, crazy things we collect.
I'm actually looking forward to that after the intro.
Let's go. Ooh, I came in a bit too quick there. My bad.
That's what.
You.
I'm actually not even going to jump onto that one.
We all know what you're going to say.
We do.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, I think we've established firmly that we're not just comic book geeks or comic collectors, but we're
glorified hoarders.
Yeah, man, and I think once you're a collector, you're always a collector. If you actually take time to just look through your house and your personal things, you'll see a trend and a pattern of just things that you end up collecting. And I think you and I both have some other strange, weird, and wonderful things that we do collect.
Yeah, and funny enough, it's interesting because I can make the distinguishment, because like Kira and I are at a phase now where we're trying to just flog anything that just is like lying around and stuff, but there still is those things, exactly what you're talking about, which are like, nah, I'm holding on to that. I'm gonna keep collecting.
Yeah.
That. So
I mean, when we said we wanted to talk about this, I literally took like 10, 15 seconds to jot down a few things. And I mean, off the top of my head, I collect just single comics still, small sentimental collection. I have the graphic novel collected edition collection that's on the bookshelf and everything. I have my little aside collection of free comics. So every time, for those of you that don't know, I think it's every May, the first Saturday in May every year, the comic industry does what they call, sorry?
May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
It's not always on May the 4th, but
they
it's
try.
Always the first Saturday of May, and it's Free Comic Book Day. So I think we should give a shout out to Free Comic Book Day and encourage people, if you have nothing to do on the first Saturday in May, I don't know if it's happening this year. I think it was postponed this year due to lockdown and isolation, but generally you can walk into any comic store around the world and you can get your one free comic book. And Mark and I both know that if you are a regular customer, or if you just end up spending some money in the comic store on that day, they generally let you walk out with a few extra free comic books for just generally supporting them.
Yeah, just if there's any young parents out there that, I know it's daunting to go in a comic store because it's like a candy store for kids, but that it's not only a cool family outing for, young parents and stuff, because a lot of the times the husband or the wife see stuff that they were into when they were kids, but you get to go there and a kid, no matter what, gets a free comic, and that might become a lifelong reader, or they might just tear it up, and that way you got it for free. So it's not that much it's not much of a train smash. So it's a good way to feel out if if your kid's gonna buy into it or not, and it won't cost you an arm and a leg. So and a lot of the comic book stores now make a kind of a mini event out of it. And, they have other specials, and they'll have artists there signing, and so it's really fun. Cool. Yeah. So I can recommend that.
So I've got like my little free comic book collection. I've got my action figure collection, as we've touched on briefly. I've got a small little statue collection. Believe it or not, I've got the odd one. I think I might even have 8 to 10 little statues, little, big, whatever. I've got my trading card collection. I think I'm one of the very few people out there who, I started on trading cards back in 80s and 90s with a couple baseball cards, basketball cards, and then discovered comic book trading cards. So I've got quite an extensive trading card collection. I've actually got some here that I'll flip through and show off to people. I've even got a rubber duck collection, and
nice.
And those are gathered around my bathtub there, and that's an ever-growing collection too. So what started out as a little joke between me and a buddy, a mate of mine, Simon. We were just joking. I said I'd love to have a rubber duck again, and like when I was a kid. And I think within a couple of days, he walked into the office with a little rubber duck for me, and not only a rubber duck, but he bought me an entire little rubber farmhouse. I've got a little pig, I've got a sheep.
Nice.
That he got me this whole little pack, and that started my rubber duck collection. And since then, I think I'm short of I think just over 20 rubber ducks. And I bought one or two here. I've got my, I like this one. He's quite special to me because Mark bought this for me on his recent travels around the world. He's my little, I suppose you could say, the Day of the Dead little rubber ducky there.
Yeah, just for some context, we got that for Warren, Kira and I, at the Paris Catacombs. So that's why it's got the skull themes and all of that. So, yeah.
Extra sentimentality. And then another one that's more comic book themed, my little bat duck over here with his little emblem and everything. So yeah, we definitely do collect all kinds of weird and wonderful things. I wanted to show off just some of the trading cards that I've got. I picked up this set recently. Set of cards, they're Marvel Metal trading cards. And if you remember in the previous little clip, I mentioned that at one stage that the comic book industry started doing chromium, which was like a special type of metal, colored metal to wrap around their cards and stuff. And these cards are part chromium and part the chase cards anyway, have some chromium to them, and they've got some foil etching.
Just a side note, do you want to explain to people out there that aren't card collectors what chase cards are, maybe? Just a brief.
Oh, sure. That's a good point. So normally what happens is you get the base set of cards, 1 to 100, 1 to 200, whatever the base set ends up being. On Marvel or DC side, it'll be a typical thing. They'll try and cover all of their characters in the base set, and they generally start alphabetically, like from A right the way through. So they'll have Spider-Man, Wolverine, Beast, Captain America, Iron Man. They'll have a card of everything. And then to make it a bit more interesting, fun, etc., and also attach more value to certain cards, they also release the chase cards where they'll select 15, 20, or 18 in some cases of the most relevant, the most popular characters at that time, and then they normally get a different artist to do those chase cards, or they'll get the same artist who did the set to do those chase cards, but in a different setting, a different thing. And then the way they used to do it, if you bought a box of these trading cards, because they used to come in little foil packs, and you get about between 5 to 10 cards in a pack. And the base cards were randomly, evenly spread throughout all the packs. And they used to say in the old days, if you bought a box, you were guaranteed to get at least one full base set of all the cards, be it 100, 200, whatever it was. And then normally you'd be almost guaranteed to get the full chase card set as well. But if you didn't buy a box, and you were like me in the old days, you'd walk in there, you bought your comic books, you'd have a little bit of extra money, and then you'd buy 1 or 2 packs of trading cards and hope to hell you got the ones you wanted, or you'd go to school the next week and all your friends that were into comics and stuff, they would bring their cards, and then you would try and swap or trade. 100%. And normally it would be like you'd have to trade a few base cards for a chase card, or you'd have to sacrifice one out of your extra chase cards to get the chase card you wanted. Sometimes you couldn't just swap a base card for a base card. People would go, well, dude, Spider-Man's a popular character, so I'm going to need at least 2 of your normal base cards for one of my Spider-Mans, or whatever the case was. And there were a few sets that were just ingrained in my childhood, especially around the high school times, swapping with my friends, sitting there on the weekends and reading. A lot of them have information on the characters at the back of the cards. You can see over here, they'll have like a little bio, a write-up on the character. Sometimes they do a power rating, how strong the character is, powerful. And then my friends and I would sit there and we would almost like theoretically battle. Oh, no, so-and-so would definitely take this one out because he's stronger, he's faster, whatever. Or sometimes we debate the merits of the card. Like, there's no way that Wolverine's only got like a 5 fighting ability when he should have like a full 10 or a 7 or whatever the case was. Those were just fun times. And to this day, I've got this file over here, which is some of my favorite rare ones. This is the chase cards from the 92 X-Men, based on sort of the same era as the Fox TV show that was out. And those are 30th anniversary cards. But really, this is my my ultimate favorite set over here. These are the original 1992 Marvel masterpieces.
Yeah. Is that black cat
there? Sorry, say again?
No, I said, is that black cat there in the middle?
It was Black Cat in the middle,
Cool
and the
card.
artist was Joe Jusko, who did all of them. And these, I think, had about 100 cards in it. And then they also got Joe Jusko to do the rare chase cards. And back then, they didn't do chromium, they did foil.
Okay,
so they did all of those in foil. And then over here, right at the bottom over here, I actually happened to find...
your signed cards.
Yeah, signed by Joe Jusko himself.
Nice.
And that just... For me, this set is, it was the one that was the ultimate set to try and collect. I mean, the general sets were let me put it in a different way. This was the first premium elite edition set of cards that Marvel, in fact, Marvel were the first ones to do it. They did it before DC, and they got a proper renowned artist to do a whole series of oil canvas paintings over there. And then what they did was took all of those and translated them onto the cards. And the 92 set was the very first set of masterpiece cards ever. Those are the ones that I coveted, chased, and to me, Boris Villagio's art, I can't get enough. I'm not Boris Villagio, Joe Jusko's art. I can't get enough of. And after him came other artists like the Hildebrandt brothers, did some sets. Boris Villagio and his wife Julie Bell, amazing fantasy artists and painters. They did a couple sets, but for me, man, those Joe Jusko 92s, that's one of my little jewels in my trading
It's actually
collection.
interesting you mentioned that, and it's interesting to see how certain things take for people and not for others. Look, it might have been my geographical location. We talked about that, where I didn't have that much access to cards or comics, when I was a kid. But I did have a few cards. I had some like soccer cards, and then I mainly had Mortal Kombat cards, which I almost finished. And I still got them lying around just somewhere. But for some reason, it just faded and didn't take. And I don't know if it's because I just couldn't get hold of cards or what the story was. But it's too far back to remember. But it's cool because I've seen you and another mate of ours, JP. It's still like quite hectically collect cards. And
yeah,
it's a whole
and I mean,
industry on its
JP,
own.
he doesn't just collect the sets. He will then hunt boxes that are unopened, etc. And he's got a whole set, just a whole collection of unopened boxes too. So
yeah, no, it's hectic. Cool.
Yeah, man. So those are just some of my weird and wonderful and extra things that I collect. I've spoken a lot. Tell me some of yours.
Yeah, so I'm lucky that I'm sure I do have random things around here, but the first thing that popped into my mind, when you said like, let's talk about other collectibles. I mean, I have mentioned to you guys I got comics. I've got slab comics. I've got some statues and stuff, but I wanted to talk about something completely different to comics, and that is, funny enough, it's any of you who've been to a Hard Rock Cafe, you'll know they've got a lot of memorabilia and they sell drumsticks.
Those are so cool.
This one here, the camera might not be capturing it, but this is the first pair I ever got, and there's a cool story behind it. So I might have mentioned this in a previous video, but I do audio editing for a living, and it's because I started out as like a garage band, and I started playing guitar and I taught myself guitar. So there's a period of my life it was like literally all about music. Like I was the kid that wanted to be in the next Blink-182, and
yeah, so it was all about the small things.
You and it was like, the band's gonna make it, babe. And the band didn't, as it usually pans out. But so why I mention that is when my parents got to go overseas for the first time, they got to go to Vegas. Not the same trip I mentioned in the previous video.
Yeah.
Obviously, as cool parents, they wanted to bring me back something really cool. And in their minds, I'm still, will always be this musician. So they were in Hard Rock Cafe in Vegas, and they got me these cool Las Vegas drumsticks. And then I had this something happened, man, where in my mind I was like, I want to collect, sticks from every country and every place I go to in the world, from Hard Rock Cafe. And that was the ambition. But what started happening is, because I got a bunch of cool humans around me, every time I'd have friends or other family and they would go overseas, they would buy me a pair of, sticks. They would send me a photo, and they'd be like, because there's usually different designs, and they'd be like, which do you want? So I I'm still trying to figure out what to do with them. They are most of the time in the back of my cupboard, but I do want to make a whole wall of them. Or I've heard about another dude who's made a whole coffee table out of them. So I'm playing with various ideas, but I mean, just off the top of my head, I wrote a little bit of a list here, but I've got Vegas, Amsterdam, Johannesburg, Venice, Hollywood, Phuket, Seattle, New York, San Francisco, LA, Bangkok, and there's a whole, there's another like 10 on that list of just different places, and some I've been to, some I haven't. But it's become this something out of nowhere that it just took. And now the cool thing is I don't even have to put effort into it. A lot of my friends will be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to this country, do you want sticks? Like, of course I do. And then I pay them back, or and my collection just keeps growing. So I hope I can find something cool to do with them. But yeah, it became a collectible out of nowhere, like an unexpected cool little side hobby that I've got. So yeah, man, that's them. I don't know if you want me to show you some of the other designs. I don't know if it's translating well on camera, but...
yeah, man, go for it.
So, I mean, just be a bit South African proud, yeah. Here's Johannesburg ones.
So each country or each city resident hard rock, it's a completely different design on the drumstick.
Yeah, so... most of the time, but what you will see is you can see they had like a base template that they altered for the country a bit. So you can see if you put them next to each other, it's kind of the same design, but it's got a different name, or it'll have like the little Italian flag hidden in it. But like the first design I showed you guys, where it's got like these Chinese dragons on. I have another pair or two that have a similar design. So you can tell that Hard Rock as the brand probably gave them a few templates, but there are some guys that have done their own thing. I'm just looking if there's anything else. But ironically, so it's not only country specific, it's also place specific. So you'll see, like, I've got Joburg and I've got Pretoria. There is now a Cape Town Hard Rock, but the last time I was there, they didn't have any stock, which really sucks because I wanted all the South African branches.
Yeah,
and then most recently, I mean, we might have mentioned this in a previous video, but I was on honeymoon in Switzerland, and there's no Hard Rock cafes in Switzerland. There used to be.
Really?
They closed down. So the only place I managed to get was Paris then. So I've got sticks from Paris also. So, yeah. That's
nice, man. And anything else besides drumsticks and stuff that you collect, dude?
It's like the only thing off the top of my head, dude. I mean, I can look around. I do collect the odd, like, I wouldn't really call this collecting. Like, I know we feel about pops. They've become but what I have is sort of the older version. I mean, I've got a couple. I'll just wing it here, but they're bobbleheads. So
okay, those are cool, dude.
So
I like bobbleheads.
I mean, this is Beavis.
Wow, that's definitely like a generational type little thing of pop culture right there, man.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Mars Attacks.
Nice.
So yeah, I've got a couple of these,
And again, I'm sure that you only, not that you only get those, but you ideally want baubles that are uniquely you, or that resonate with you, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, there's another collection in this house, but it doesn't belong to me, but maybe worth mentioning. But Kira is obsessed with everything Tim Burton. I mean, she's been in that. She didn't jump on the hype when all these other kids did. She's liked it right from the start. I mean, it was our generation that grew up on that film as a kid's film, Nightmare Before Christmas. But so she's got a whole, like, you'll actually see it. We've done it in lockdown. We in the lounge, we put up a whole thing of all her stuff that's been boxed for so long, where it's got Corpse Bride, it's got Nightmare Before Christmas, it's got like a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, and she's got a whole collection, man. So so that's another collection thing. Kira collects, like, kind of like, it's mainly Tim Burton stuff. And anything Beauty and the Beast, like, dude, she's got puzzles.
Oh, dude, I remember Beauty and the Beast when we were at Comic Con. She was losing her mind for some of that art.
And what was really cool is, just hope people catch on to what you're talking about. But a mate of ours, JP, at a stage had a large collection of comics when he still lived here. And he was selling, it was small old runs and stuff. And he managed in his crates of comics, like, he found me a Beauty and the Beast issue 1. And I bought it for Kira, and she's got it framed. So yeah, man.
That's cool.
So, and I mean, that just takes her straight back to her childhood. So that's also just total pure joy. There's no value attached to it or anything. So So yeah, I
But you
mean,
see, that's what it's all about, man. It's
yeah,
like, again, something like your drumsticks. It's just something that your parents got for you out of love, joy, passion. They thought, wow, Mark would really appreciate these, and that one little spark of love, thoughtfulness, or whatever has now become this staple in your
mm,
life. Same thing with the Beauty and the Beast little thing there. It's that for me is what it's all about. And I think every person in some way, shape, or form can hopefully identify with this, whether they collected Lego blocks when they were a kid, or they had a collection of Barbies, or maybe they got into stamp collecting in some way, shape, or form. I mean, one of our good mates, again, Dave doesn't just collect comics; he collects sneakers. He's
and
obsessed with his
Lego, you just
Pumas.
mentioned it, so is a big deal for him. Yeah, and
Yeah, girls who collect shoes, like the various high heels and whatever, all of that stuff, man.
yeah, and dude, and maybe I'm being too presumptuous, but maybe like a thought we can end this on is like maybe this will encourage someone who had stuff when they were younger and like you did with your action figures, sold it all.
Yeah,
Maybe they can like be like, hey, and go out and look for a couple of things. There's
yeah,
a total acquaintance actually known through the audio industry, and he messaged me and he's like, how can I get hold of Tintin memorabilia and Tintin figurines and comics, because that's what he grew up and he loved, and I kind of gave him a
that's
few
cool.
directions and I pointed him to the main groups and stuff, and I'm like, maybe it's something. And I think he's managed to get a couple of things, which is it's awesome, man. It's like,
Yeah,
it's part of the whole escapism thing. It's not healthy to get completely tied and swallowed by that, but it's cool, man. It's cool to have that stuff in this real harsh world, I guess.